like to call this meeting to order. Clerk of the Board, would you please call the roll?
Freeholder Carter.
Present.
Freeholder Estrada.
Present.
Freeholder Hudak. Freeholder Jallo. Freeholder Kowalski.
Here.
Freeholder Mirabella.
Present.
Freeholder Wright.
Present.
Vice Chairman Granados.
Here.
And Chairman Bergen.
Here.
Chairman, you have 7 freeholders present.
Thank you. Clerk of the Board, please lead us in the prayer and salute to the flag.
Humbly we ask God, the giver of peace and the lover of charity, to give the entire family of nations true agreement with his will, and to grant the light of his Spirit on all who work for justice and peace. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk of the Board, kindly read the statement of compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act.
The Chair wishes to announce that pursuant to the requirements of New Jersey statutes annotated, Title 10, Chapter 4, Section 10 of the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting of the Board of Chosen Freeholders of the County of Union has been given by mailing the annual meeting schedule for the year 2017, along with periodic changes necessitated by circumstances, to the newspapers circulating within the County of Union who are designated to receive such notice, and by posting the annual meeting schedule for the year 2017 in the Administration Building, and further by filing the annual meeting schedule for the year 2017 with the Office of the County Clerk.
Thank you. We have a presentation on the agenda tonight, but the person presenting it is on his way up in the elevator walking over, so we're going to skip that for the moment, come back to that, and we'll move on to approval of communications. So may I please have a motion to approve communication?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second? Moved by Freeholder Mirabella, seconded by Freeholder Wright. Clerk of the Board, please call the roll.
Freeholder Carter.
Yes.
Freeholder Estrada.
Yes.
Freeholder Kowalski.
Yes.
Freeholder Mirabella.
Aye.
Freeholder Wright.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Granados.
Aye.
And Chairman Bergen.
Yes.
Chairman, you have 7 votes in the affirmative.
Thank you. Next, we do have a resolution that was not placed on the agenda at our agenda-setting meeting last week, so in order to consider it tonight, I'm going to call for a motion to suspend the rules to consider a resolution from the floor.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Freeholder Kowalski, seconded by Freeholder Carter. Clerk of the Board, please call the roll.
Freeholder Carter.
Yes.
Freeholder Estrada.
Yes.
Freeholder Kowalski.
Yes.
Freeholder Mirabella.
Aye.
Freeholder Wright.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Granados.
Aye.
And Chairman Bergen.
Yes.
Chairman, you have 7 votes in the affirmative.
Thank you. For the information of the public, this is to allow the county to donate certain, I guess it's really chemicals, to help fight mosquitoes to several counties down in Texas who are going to need it because of the severe flooding. Obviously, a week ago, we didn't really know that this was going to be possible. The chemicals were discovered in our warehouse just recently, so that's why we are bringing it up in this manner as an add-on to the agenda. That being said, we will now open the meeting to the public for comment on this specific resolution only, that's 2017-719, concerning donating pallets of chemicals to Texas. So if there's any member of the public who wishes to speak on 2017-719 only, please step to one of the 2 microphones, state your name, your town of residence, and please remember that we do have a tonight 3-minute time limit. So anyone wishing to address this specific resolution, please step forward.
Good evening, Chair Bergen, ladies and gentlemen of the Freeholder Board, Bruce Patterson Garwood. I appreciate that you're reaching out with help to the aid of the people down in Texas due to Hurricane Harvey. But just a simple question. These pallets, how much do they cost? How much money is this come about? Not that I'm going to argue about it. Just wondering.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, there was no cost. They were received as a state grant, and there were just some extra that we didn't utilize this past summer.
Good.
Thank you.
But there has to be a value, right?
Okay, Joe? Do you have any more statement on this?
No,
Mr.
that's
Patterson?
all.
Okay, thank you. See if we can-
The value of this through you, Mr. Chairman, is $17,000 approximately of product that we'll be donating to 4 counties in the Texas area, in the Houston area.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to comment on the one pending resolution only? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the meeting. May I please have a motion to approve Resolution 2017-719?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Moved by Freeholder Mirabella, seconded by Freeholder Wright. Clerk of the Board, please call the roll.
Freeholder Carter.
Yes.
Freeholder Estrada.
Yes.
Freeholder Kowalski.
Yes.
Freeholder Mirabella.
Aye.
Freeholder Wright.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Granados.
Aye.
And Chairman Bergen.
Yes.
Chairman, you have 7 votes in the affirmative.
Thank you. We're now going to move back to the beginning of our agenda and move to our presentation. I just want to explain that back in June, I had the honor to participate in what was called an interfaith solidarity gathering in Springfield, but for the residents of Union County. And one of the speakers at that time is our special guest tonight, and that's Dr. Muhammad Ali Chaudhry. And just real briefly, Dr. Chaudhry graduated from the London School of Economics. He has a PhD in economics from Tufts University, worked at AT&T for 30 years. When he retired there in 1998, he became a lecturer in business at Seton Hall and Rutgers University. And then he went on to serve as an elected official in Bernards Township, both on their Board of Education and on their governing body. But what brings him here tonight at my invitation is his position as co-founder of the Islamic Society of Central Jersey, which is in Boonton. He's also co-founder and president of the Islamic Society of Basking Ridge, but most importantly is a co-founder of the New Jersey Interfaith Coalition. He also serves on the New Jersey Attorney General's Muslim Outreach Committee, as a member of the Interfaith Advisory Council of the New Jersey Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness. And specifically, Dr. Chaudhry is the author of and goes around making presentations concerning the Stand Up for the Other pledge. And this was a pledge that at the event in Springfield in June, all of the people there took, and Dr. Chaudhry explained to me that, in fact, both houses of the New Jersey legislature, the members, have stood up and made this pledge. And I asked him if he'd be willing to come here to Union County to just talk to us briefly so that this body, and hopefully the members of the public who are here tonight, can also take this pledge. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Chaudhry and ask him if he wants to say a few words before we actually all take the pledge.
Mr. Chairman, and members of the Freeholder Board, and members of the public, it is indeed a great honor for me to have the few minutes to speak to you about a very important and timely issue that we are all dealing with. That is bigotry and hatred in many areas of our life that we see. And the pledge that the chairman referred to is something that came out of a meeting that I was at. It is not something I just dreamt up that we needed to do. As a member of the faith-based advisory council of the Homeland Security Department, I was at a meeting at Drew University in March of 2015. And as a part of that meeting, we generally hear an intelligence report before anything else. So the Department of Homeland Security gives us an idea of what's going on in the world, threats we face, and how the New Jersey Homeland Security Department and the U.S. Homeland Security Department are, of course, preparing us and everyone to make sure that we are protected. Well, in that report, we heard that 3 Muslims had been killed in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. A synagogue had been desecrated, and other horrible things that happened. So when that report ended, the Director of Homeland Security wanted to move on to the next item on the agenda. But it bothered me a little bit, so I raised my hand and I asked whether, as faith leaders, we had an obligation to do something about what we just heard. In fact, I said, how do we know that as faith leaders, that the work that we do is making a difference? And then I offered my own criterion as to how we would know that we are making a difference. And I said that that will be when we see the day that when Muslims sitting among themselves at a family dinner table, at a social gathering, with coworkers, with friends, hear someone say something hateful about a member of another community. And another Muslim at that table stands up and says, that's not right. And the Christians sitting among themselves hear someone among them say something hateful about a Jew or a Muslim or a Hindu or a Buddhist or anyone else. And then another Christian stands up and says, that's not right. And Jews sitting among themselves see the same thing and act that way. Because if we stay silent when we hear hateful words, no matter who they are directed at, no matter where they come from, it would mean that people think you must agree with them. Well, silence is not an option. We really have reached a stage in this country and around the world that we individually, each one of us, regardless of our faith, our national origin, status in life, anything that may be differentiating us from others, regardless of that, we have an obligation to say no to bigotry. So that is when we began this effort. And in that room, the 50 or so people that were sitting there, so I just said to them, would you be willing to take this pledge? And the words that you see here today are pretty much what I said. We've had some editing, some refinement in the language, but generally speaking, I asked them if they themselves, as faith leaders, would be willing to take that stand. And everyone raised their hand. Since then, I spoke to every Attorney General of the state who has signed it. And then on December 16th, 2016, a group of us went to the State House, and through the courtesy of Senator Lesniak and Assemblyman Andrew Zwicker, we were able to get every member of the Senate and Assembly to sign this pledge. In fact, the senators stood together in one of the committee rooms and took the pledge on video, and that video is posted on our website called standupfortheother.org. Since then, we have also been working with every community that is interested. Franklin Township, for example, has adopted as a part of their entire school system, they adopted the pledge as a tool against bullying. The council of Franklin Township started their meeting actually with the pledge when we introduced it. Since then, we have spoken. I have personally gone, along with other groups, at many, many congregations, including the Jewish Federation Assembly that was just held last week at Rutgers University, where everyone at the end of this and the end of the program took the pledge as a call to action, that we will all stand up for the other. Union County today and the Union County Freeholder Board is really the first county-level government in the state of New Jersey that has taken this initiative and is taking this pledge. So I'm honored to, at this point, ask you to join me. If you would like to stand up, and I will say a few words at a time. If you repeat after me, that will affirm your commitment to standing up to bigotry. He wants me to wait. Should I go there? Okay. So please repeat after me. While interacting with members of my own faith, or ethnic, or gender community, or with others, if I hear hateful comments from anyone about members of any other community, I pledge to stand up for the other and speak up to challenge bigotry in any form. Thank you very much. Members of the audience, thank you so much. Please take this message to your school district. Where you would like to propagate the message. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Dr. Chaudhry, for joining us. We're now going to move to that portion of the meeting where we take public comments on any of our pending resolutions. We are, of course, aware that there are a fair number of people here tonight concerned with a single resolution. That's 2017-764, which we are voting on tonight, which pertains to the Roselle Mind and Body Complex and clarifies language in a bond guarantee ordinance that was passed in September, which ordinance was requested that we pass by the Borough of Roselle. This resolution and the ordinance it's attached with will ultimately save the taxpayers of Roselle millions of dollars. We are aware there's a large group here to talk about this resolution. Therefore, we're going to make a few changes in our normal procedures to try and accommodate the large number of people who want to speak, as we've done at past meetings. As always, please note that nobody may speak more than once during the resolution portion. Because there are a large number of people, we're going to reduce our normal 5-minute limit to 3 minutes to try and make sure everybody has an opportunity to speak. We've also, instead of our single mic, we've set up 2 microphones so that as soon as one person's finished, the next person can begin without any delay for moving around the room. So we will go back and forth between the 2 microphones. To accommodate people who may want to speak only about 2017-764, which is on the Roselle Mind and Body Complex, we're going to 67, 65. Okay. It's now 7:65. I apologize. Sometimes the paperwork doesn't keep up with reality. To those of you who may want to speak only about items other than the Mind and Body Complex, we are going to ask that those people come up and speak first before we move into the discussion on the Mind and Body Complex. If you want to speak about other items and 2017-765, then please wait, because as I said, you will only be allowed to speak once. As I have at past meetings, I want to remind everyone to please mind your manners. We are listening carefully, and we've done so at private meetings to many of you who have spoken to us before. So we would appreciate if you could try and keep your remarks succinct and to the point, and try not to be overly repetitive from what other people say, because as I said, we are listening carefully and we do hear what you're saying. There will be no personal attacks or inappropriate language allowed, and that will be subject you to removal from the room if you continue to do that. Also, if you are not at the microphone, you may not address the board. Anyone calling out from the audience will be asked to leave. We just have to have decorum with this larger group, and that way everyone will have an opportunity to speak. Please, so we can move things along, no applause while somebody's speaking or after somebody speaks. Again, we understand everybody has strong feelings, but the less time between speakers, the more speakers that will be allowed to speak. So please do not, just hold your applause to the end. I want to thank everyone in advance for your cooperation. We've had groups like this in the past, and it's worked very well. If everybody would just please comply with the rules that we've set forth. So, at this point, if there's anyone who is going to speak on only resolutions other than 2017-765, that is, if you don't have any comments on the Mind and Body Center, please step forward now. As always, state your name, your town of residence, and please remember we do have a 3-minute time limit tonight. The screens will show you green when you are in your first 2 minutes, orange during your last minute, and then it will turn red at the end of 3 minutes, and you will have to stop. So anyone, again, who wants to speak other than on the Mind and Body Center, please step forward at this time. Please proceed.
My name is Orlando Vick. I'm an educator at the Roselle Board of Education. In regards to this situation, it's very important to me because as an educator there with my young men and also a mentor inside of the Roselle district as well, I think that it's very important for this initiative to be granted to us, to see our young people in a turmoil and oppression and depression that they are in a society that they live in. I think having this type of situation, this type of development would definitely reduce a lot of crime. This will also help a lot of academic enhancement. This will have a lot of our young people to understand that there are people fighting for us, and having that type of development, it will cease a lot of fire. So I think that by us having this facility, as we speak on as Americans and as in America, I think that we should automatically fight for our kids and making sure that they have everything that they need, so therefore they can soar in life and not be incarcerated. We see the recidivism and is on an ongoing. We're trying to reduce that. So all that we can do and how we can do it is to proceed with this facility and by making a major platform for our young people at large.
Thank you very much. I'm going to, obviously I wasn't clear. If you want to speak on other than the mind and body, and not on the mind and body, now is the time that you should speak, so that we can then move on to what most people want to comment on. But thank you for your comments.
Yeah, John Berry, Kenworth. Two things. On 749, resolution approving the corrective action plan for financial statements. I guess that's on account of the audit. What is the corrective action plan? Last year's audit had something about not complying with federal grant, Federal Register and Federal Award compliance. Is this the same stuff as from last few years that wasn't corrected, or is there something new on there? And the other one is on 763, where change from Baus, Zucker, Hatfield to Wiener Law Group for various litigation. How many cases are involved here? And is this a change with one lawyer, presumably Richard Baus, going from Baus Zucker to Wiener Law? Or is this just, is Richard Baus out of it and it's just a completely different law firm that's taken over these cases? That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Burry. We'll do 763, and the county council can respond to that.
Yes, the firm of Bausch, Zucker, Hatfield no longer exists. Mr. Bausch has moved on, and Ms. Hatfield and Mr. Zucker have joined with the Wiener Law Group. I would say there's approximately 4 to 5 cases that are involved on the litigation side of it, and Ms. Hatfield provides our labor representation and a number of personnel matters.
Thank you, Mr. Barry.
You're welcome.
On 749, Director Taylor, if you could address that, please.
Good evening, Chairman and Board. The audited financial statements for year-end 2016 essentially had one recommendation from our auditors, and that was to review all open purchase orders and review the validity of same and cancel as appropriate. These are for our various fund accounts, which do not have a lapse in time and essentially can go on in perpetuity. So we are asking all departments just to review and cancel as appropriate.
And was that comment made last in the
No,
2015?
this is the only comment, and all previous corrective action items have been handled.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to address issues other than the Mind and Body Center only? Okay, seeing no one now, anyone who wishes to comment on any resolution, please step forward. Once again, state your name, your municipality of residence, state which resolution you are speaking about, whether it's 765 or others, and please remember there is a total of 3-minute time limit on anyone speaking. Please step forward.
Sorry, I was supposed to be prepared. Maria Hagener, Roselle, New Jersey. I've been here the last couple of times, and I'm going to try not to repeat my comments. As you're well aware that, you know, how I feel about this project. It is needed, but there's a certain point where projects are capable of being done, and there's certain times that it's not. Right now, our community is in dire need of a school or some kind of component. Although I agree with the school component on there, I do notice that the resolution itself left out the school component. Is that purposely done, or was that a mistake or a typo? Because I know there's a lot of typos in this contract, including the one that the borough and the Board of Education to amend the expiration date of the contract, December 31st, 2015. So if someone could clarify why the school component is off of this resolution, I would appreciate it. But again, going back to the community and how we are in dire need, we have a total of 1,700 homes in some form of foreclosure, 3 of which of our council people are also losing their homes. I won't mention names, but it's been publicized. So it baffles my mind that individuals are either ignorant about the status of the community's finances, or they're just maybe, you know, in denial, or maybe they just want everybody else to sink in the same ship that they're sinking in. It's really unfortunate. I am a PTO parent for 25 years at the same school. My children have moved on, and the children, as of last year, 2016, and midway through the 17th year, there is 84% of our school children are free to reduce lunch. If they can't afford the food or the roof over their head, how in the world are they going to be able to afford this project? We already are in desperate need of people that are losing their homes. What's to say going down the line when this project comes to fruition that they're not going to be capable of paying for anything, let alone food on the table? So I consider, you know, I wish that everyone would be on the same page about the dire need of our community. We're unable to afford this project. School is, if you're gonna pass a project, please increase the schools. You know, that's what we need. We have a 935 unit or 32 unit project that's being built right now. Where are those kids are going to go to school? We have no room for the kids that we have right now. You know, please consider that. At least increase the school. You know, what is a kindergarten and a pre-K going to do? It's just a Band-Aid.
Thank you for your comments. Your time is up. Just to be clear again, we're going to go back and forth. So if you want to be the next speaker, stand at the mic. It'll save us time, and we can get more people's comments in a quicker period of time. So we're going to go over to this mic, and then we'll come back to here. Thank you for your comments.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is Gary Farr. I reside in Cranford. As president, I'm speaking to the resolution 765. As president of the Union County Building Trades, representing several thousand county residents, I support the Mind and Body Complex. This project, if approved, would provide much-needed employment for approximately 120 men and women of the Union County Building Trades for a 14-month duration. I come here tonight to advocate for jobs for my members. That is true. But I really think the real beneficiaries of this project are the residents of Roselle and their children. The community center, with all the amenities it has to offer, provides educational and recreational opportunities for the residents and their families. This facility, with the security provided, will give children a safe place with which to enjoy themselves and recreate. The Roselle Board of Education will reap the benefits of a new school, of which I believe is part of this resolution. And it will create a positive environment for learning at a preschool age. Union County wins with a collaborative public-private partnership project, which could not have been done without the freeholders, the City Council, the Board of Education, and a private partner, which will guarantee this project is done on time and on budget without cost overruns or delays. I'm here tonight to support the freeholder vote to get a shovel in the ground and publicly thank all the entities which have worked tirelessly to make this project happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sir.
My name is Ken Jones. I'm from Roselle. First, I'd like to thank you, the freeholders, for allowing the community's voices to be heard on this most important issue on the Mind and Body Project. But before I get into my, my speech or my message, I wanted to focus on the prayer that you guys prayed about liberty and justice for all. I really believe that this country was built on democracy, people having a voice and their voices being heard. With that being said, as most of us here know, we are in a tax crisis here in Roselle, with over 400 abandoned homes where owners just upped and left, 1,600 active foreclosures. My colleagues and I really felt the pain of many residents as we were campaigning for the June 6th primary. Before I get into the rest of my message, I also want to note that we do have a recreation center that was just built, a beautiful one right across the street from my house. And I'm sure that the community is going to use that. It's going to be the youth can use it, adults can use it. I mean, it's a beautiful facility, and I'm sure we're going to put it to good use. With that being said, because we do have a recreation center. All right, let me get to the rest of my message here if I can find it. All right. As we were doing, as I said, the June 6 primaries, we spoke to a lot of homeowners. We spoke to a lot of residents, and many of these people that we spoke to were in a desire crisis. They were working people. These people actually have careers. Some of them was accountants, and they spoke about their burden. Many said they could not bear the weight of these increasing taxes. Hard-working people who just wanted to live the American dream, but in return became a nightmare. So I ask you the question, if you were in our shoes, what would you do? I hope your answer would be the right thing. So my prayer is not to add more of a tax burden on the people of Roselle that we cannot bear and stop the bleeding. Thank you, God bless you, and the good people of Roselle.
Thank you for your comments. We don't have anyone up at this mic. Am I to believe no one else wishes to speak tonight? Please, folks, to speed this along, if you want to speak, stand up next to one of the microphones and we'll call you next. Thank you. Please begin.
Good evening, Chairman, Freeholder Board, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sylvia Turnage, Roselle, New Jersey. I come here tonight to gain some type of insight and clarity on where we're heading with this Mind and Body project. I attended the council workshop meeting last night where our council voted to move this project forward. 5 of the 6 people that voted on this last night really had no clue. And that was evidenced after they voted and they were asked questions by the residents, questions by the audience. We also had a presentation by Supley and Clooney, our auditors, and NW Financials. And I wish this presentation was taped because neither one of them could agree with the figures. And then they didn't know where the figures came from. And then one was blaming the other one for the figures, and it was not very professional at all. I have a couple of questions. The Borough of Roselle was supposed to adopt an ordinance guaranteeing the bonds, placing the county in second position on the bonds. That didn't happen, so why are you moving forward tonight? You identified a conflict with the UCIA Bond Council last Friday, even had an attorney with Roth firm write a letter accusing them of such. They responded they did not have a conflict but will not sign off on the bonds in a letter you require. Because they would not, you, Freeholder Bergen, Freeholder Granadas, Freeholder Wright, met with county council and others and demanded the bond council remove themselves because they were getting a letter that is an impediment to tonight's actions. You forcibly removed longtime respected bond counsel because he wouldn't violate his ethical standards. Number 3, you had NW Financial prepare a document that shows many pilots in Roselle with very questionable tax numbers being returned to the borough. Huddle House pays less than a medium tax in our borough with projects not built or constructed. Are you aware of a conflict of interest has been raised with the Roth firm, with the borough attorney and the Roselle Board of Education attorney being from the same firm and chosen to ignore it? Your attorneys filed a motion to dismiss a lawsuit on this matter, which means you know one exists, and yet you move forward anyway. Does anyone on this board this evening have the courage to say simply this is wrong or I won't be a part of it? What I came here looking for tonight, and don't get me wrong, everyone on this board is well respected because you work hard and it shows within our 21 towns. So we appreciate what you do on this board. But when you're dealing with Roselle, I'm asking
Thank you.
for
I'm sorry
clarity.
your time is up.
Thank you. Please please answer my questions.
This is not a answer and question and answer period, but I am, and it's to allow the public to express their views, but I am going to say that much of the information, ma'am, I'm speaking to you, much of the information that you just stated as fact, I don't know where you got it from, but much of it is very, very wrong and not correct. Thank you. Sir, you're next.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Freeholder Board. My name is Samuel Bishop. I'm a councilman in Roselle, 5th Ward, and I'm here for two reasons. Number one, I want to thank you for your continuous support of this project. It's a project that is well needed and well deserved for the borough of Roselle. It also has the ability, people talk about foreclosures and abandoned houses. Well, one of the things that attracts people to a community is to have a nice center, nice schools and activities for their children. So this could actually be a project that can actually increase people coming back into Roselle. I want to briefly touch on some numbers, okay? Because we've, in the past, and I know you've heard this figure that the taxes were going to go up like $500 per year. And the thing that I found out recently, which I thought was extremely disingenuous, is that that included absolutely no revenue whatsoever, none whatsoever. So the numbers that the previous speaker referred to actually comes out to, on an assessed $120,000 home, a $19.20 increase, a $22.40 increase on $140,000, and a $25.60 increase, and those are annual, on $160,000 assessed value home. What I like about these numbers, and I mentioned this yesterday, even if our revenues were 50% less, half of what we projected, it doesn't even come up to half of what the public has been, and a lot of people have been hoodwinked into believing this $500 figure. So I just wanted to put that on the record. This is a project that we can afford. I think it's a project that'll be a boon for Roselle, not only for our children, for all of our families, our senior citizens. We will continue to strive to look for revenues, not only revenues from businesses coming into the town, but revenue that can be garnered from this facility as well. And I thank you, and I continue to thank you, and just want you to know that the majority of my council colleagues are with you on this project. We support you, and more importantly, we thank you very, very much. Good evening.
Thank you, Councilman. Next, Mr. Esposito.
Anthony Esposito, 414 East 3rd Avenue. Bill Musto and Bob Menendez. Bill Musto was the mayor of Union City. Bob Menendez, a young Cuban American just getting started in politics in Hudson County. Bob Menendez, walking
Mr.
around
Esposito,
Union
please,
City.
Excuse me, Mr. Esposito, you have to address something on the agenda.
I am.
Please,
I will
get to it.
I will get to it. Was walking around Union City wearing a bulletproof vest because he was about to turn state's evidence against the Hudson County machine, Bill Musto. Bill Musto was on trial. Bob Menendez testified against Bill Musto, and Bill Musto was found guilty of corruption. Bob Menendez was a very brave young man. I've spoken to you many times. I wrote letters to the local finance board, to the commissioner of education, talking about the problems with this project. And you all recognize there are problems. Why, at the very last minute, is the Board of Education and the Borough of Roselle amending a contract that was null and void? Also, that same contract clearly states that the borough cannot sublet the property to anyone except the Board of Education. Now there's this mad rush to finalize the sale of these bonds. Something isn't right. The chairman of the local finance board thought something wasn't right. He requested Dan Sullivan, the executive director of UCIA, to explain some of the points that I brought forward. I don't know if any explanations were given to the local finance board yet. I'm not privy to that information. But here we are. You represent the people of Roselle. You represent the people of Union County, hardworking, tax-paying people. You're going to burden them with more taxes. You know all the information is not correct. There's been a lot of smoke and mirrors. Everything's been hidden.
Thank you, Mr. Esposito. Thank you.
Like Bob
Thank you.
Menendez.
Who's next? Step up, young man.
Hello, my name is Joshua Melvin, and I'm a student at Abraham Clark High School in Roselle, New Jersey. I just wanted to say, didn't talk about the recreational center that's being built and how it's affecting just not only the citizens, but also the kids. Because not only am I just seeing stress on not only my parents, but my neighbors as well. And they're talking about just leaving and all this. It kind of just doesn't seem right from a child's eyes. And anybody even younger than me can see that this plan and action that y'all are taking are affecting not just Roselle, but it could be affecting everything that y'all are building in future plans as well. That's all I want to say. That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
Good evening, freeholders, and good evening, residents.
Oh, sure. You gentlemen want to speak? Go ahead. Just stay up by the mic.
I go to Gracewood A Junior High. I want to just say that we need more recreational things. Like, yeah, said that you were going to be making, I forgot what it's called, a recreational center by East 9th Avenue. And I think that's pretty good for us because us as kids, we really don't have nothing to do in Roselle. There's not too many activities we can do. We have to walk all the way to Linden Rec just to play sports. Also, I think we should have more after-school programs in all the schools, not just my school.
Thank you.
And thank you for the residents who were here tonight. I've been before you on several occasions over the last 5 years, and I'm just very grateful that this is, really coming to a conclusion. Folks will tend to try to take you to other places when there are issues they don't really want to address that are really happening at home at times. And all the other opposition noise that you have heard, you haven't heard or saw what I see every day in Roselle. And what I see every day in Roselle is I see kids wandering the street. I see kids not having nowhere to go. I see a pre-K and kindergarten academy who has paid millions of dollars over the last few years, who still owes the borough property taxes up into the tune of $275,000 and can't even upkeep the building. I see parents not having the ability to afford to take their kids outside of town because there's nothing in town. I see grandparents who can't even afford to do any kind of recreational opportunity of activities because there's nowhere to go. This has been the problem in Roselle because there has not been a vision and there has not been facilities that take care of our most vulnerability, and that's our kids. Now, folks will have you believe that this is a $500 tax increase. Yeah, they'll have you believe that because they never included the revenue stream that we've had since 5 years ago for this project. The councilman mentioned that it's 12, 20, 60. Those are small investments that are going into the lives of our young people. Now, Anthony Esposito gets up. Of course, I expect him to get up every single month that this resolution is before you because he has an interest He's a former trustee of St. Joseph who has received millions and millions and continue to receive millions and millions of dollars for lease space. They don't improve the buildings. They don't provide an adequate space for our young people. Our 3- and 4-year-olds are playing in a black-top parking lot. And all we're asking the Board of Education to do is move that money over. Move that payment that they've been paying St. Joseph and Master Shims at the tune of over $1 million a year for inadequate facilities. But you don't hear that because they got an interest to protect. Well, my interest is the families and the seniors and the kids of the Borough of Roselle. And I know this Freeholder Board. And I know your heart, and I know where you come from. And I know that you can think beyond the political optics that these fraudulent people have presented to you on facts that are certainly not true. Numbers don't lie, and people don't. And so I'm asking
Thank you.
freeholders to support this project to ensure that Roselle
Thank you.
has
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, hello. My name is Devon Huntley. I was born and raised in Essex County, Newark. Then I moved to Irvington. I just spent 12 years of my life behind bars, in prison, locked up. Reason why? I didn't have a voice like these kids just had to come here and ask for some help. And it seemed like when they come up here and ask for help, it's like a blind eye, closed ears. For what? You have the power to sit here and listen to these kids and give them what they need instead of them going outside, knock somebody across the head, taking stuff from people that hard-earned money that they work hard for. I didn't do this, but now I do take a stand. I will take a stand for these kids. Get them what they want. They want a childhood. These kids today don't have a childhood. They're scared to go outside. Roselle is falling apart. If you want the next Newark or Irvington and Roselle, then don't give it to them. Let them play on them, the messed up concrete that's outside, these messed up parks. You wouldn't have your kids out there playing in it. Give these kids what they need. They need a childhood. They need somebody that's going to stand up for them. We can stand up. We need you to help as well. We're supposed to be a united country. Where's we going to unite at? When is it going to be time for us to unite? We need to come together for these kids. If you don't do it, the streets would definitely take these kids. And you're going to be sitting there talking about, oh, wow, what we could have done. A lot you could have done. You have a position. We sit here and we pray to our highest power, whoever you pray to, with all due respect. And you sitting there just because your days has been written down for you. Everything that you do in your life is written down. Write something down for these kids. Get them what they want. They want a childhood. That's all they're asking for. And that's sad that you will sit here and you look at these kids in their eyes and you sit here and say, oh no, but you'll put money somewhere else. This money is for them, not for us. This is the future. Like I said, I did 12 years in prison. Running up and down the streets, doing negative activity. Now I decide, you know what, I'm gonna do something positive. Instead of me using my voice for the wrong things, I'm gonna do it for the right thing. And I'm using it for these kids. So please, do what's right. You know what's right. It's not rocket science, really not. All you have to say and say, yes, kids, we give it to you. Unless you want, like I said, if you want the old Newark or the old Irvington and Roselle, then just sit behind them desks and don't do anything. That's all I have to say. Give these kids what they want.
Thank you. Mayor?
Thank you, Freeholder Board President. This is a real tough situation. The problem is the lack of clarity and the fact that when we invest in our families and our children, it takes money. Obviously, for those who are not familiar, it's not you that has to come up with the money. It is the tax-paying citizens of Roselle, the ones we talked about, who are heavily taxed already and burdened. I won't even address the misinformation that was announced to you tonight. This isn't about the children, it's about their parents. As we said before, if the finances become such, as they already have been, you know, people move to towns for a couple of reasons. One, our town is beautiful. We have gorgeous parks. We have nice streets. We have beautiful trees. When they go through Roselle, they love it and they want to come here. What do they say? Oh my God, The taxes are so high. We just had a person come up that works for us that after doing a tremendous project that eliminated flooding, we can't even get FEMA to give us the right to redraw our maps so that they don't keep gouging us at $5,500 for flood insurance on top of $10,000 and $12,000 of taxes, which is what the average homeowner is paying. She couldn't afford it. She came up. They just boosted her another $1,200. I myself pay $5,500, but that's another matter. We're talking about, this is bifurcated. It's both the children and what we want to do for them, and believe me, we have, and I have to admit it, we have a good recreation department. Our director is doing a heck of a job, Donald Shaw. And I really appreciate what him and his staff have been doing for our community in bringing many, many programs to Roselle. We also have over 32 churches. We have schools. Our community needs to come together to see what we can do within those buildings, and they are starting to provide evenings for our teenagers and our tweens, which are the most concerned. I know because I have 2 children grown and teenage grandchildren as well, 4. I'm a speech pathologist. I am well aware, because I worked in urban districts, of the issues that come up from having children wander without structured environments and recreation and opportunities. But the biggest thing here that we need to offer our children is academic and cultural opportunities. I encourage you, I don't know why you disconnected from the school. I have no idea. First of all, they have a zero debt service, and they have a $52 million borrowing power, where ours, we are $15 million over the threshold with very few dollars left to actually borrow in an emergency to run the town. It's not about not giving the kids, but we do have to think of this in 2 directions. We're not saying don't build it. We're saying let's look at it again, or we need the school now, no question about it. But let's relook at the possibility with the library.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sorry, time is up. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Good evening, Speaker. Good evening, freeholders. My name is Courtney Washington. I'm from Roselle, New Jersey. Everyone is talking about this program. I actually support it. I actually think that it's something that's very necessary in our town. When we talk about taxes, across the state of New Jersey, our taxes are high. And that's a tax burden, and that's something that we all have to face living in New Jersey. When I'm looking for a home, I look for things that I'm going to benefit from. I'm looking for the quality of life, I'm looking for schools, but I'm also looking for recreational opportunities. The one thing that people continue to forget in these conversations is that while there may be recreation for some other people in our communities, the most vulnerable, those with special needs or disabilities, are often left out of that equation. So people like myself, who has a child who has disabilities, often have to go out on the weekends and take that child or take that young person out of my town to someplace else for him to get an opportunity to do something fun, social, and everything else. I'm not saying don't build it, I'm saying build it. I'm saying bring it to our town, bring it to our able-bodied young people, bring it to our elders, bring it to our seniors that are still going to remain in town. Do so, and let us all come together and understand that there are other things, not just an empty shell. Revenues will come. We have to be willing to be open-minded, on board, and being able to see beyond where we are right now, which is a place that's not even built. Let's get this project moving. I thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Jaida Atkinson, and I live in Union County, out of Elizabeth, but I work out of Roselle. I work for the Boys and Girls Club of Union County, which we run programs in their schools, in the gym. These kids need space. There's a lot of kids that's reprimanded to be in the gym for 3 to 4 hours a day for after school program. They can't go outside unless the weather is nice, so they do have nice parks, but if the weather not nice, we have to stay in the gym. They get there sometime between 7:30 and after school lets out 2:55, so if they have after school program, they're in there from 7:30 to 6 o'clock. That is too long to be in a school. And what fun is that to be in a school for 12 hours? We need some type of space to put these kids. KSA, they have no gym for the Boys and Girls Club. So for recreation, we have to use the hallway. That's not fair to the kids at all. So I say we need to push forward with the mind, body, and soul. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Anyone else who wishes to speak, please step up and step up to either mic.
Brandon Bernier, Roselle, New Jersey. Chairman, at the beginning of this meeting, you said sometimes the paperwork doesn't keep up with reality, and I can't agree with you any more than right now on this project. You know, the assemblyman gets up here and flat out lies to you time after time. I can't deal with it anymore. I'm going to read an email that I got from Father Chris Myslowski, pastor of St. Joe's, the Catholic Church. Dear Brandon, since I have been appointed pastor of St. Joseph in 2009, the trustees of the parish have been Mr. Leo Krakowecki and Mr. Eves Alberg. Mr. Anthony Esposito has never been a trustee of St. Joseph the Carpenter Parish. Now, either a priest is lying to me or an assemblyman is lying to you. I don't know which one you want to believe. You know, a year ago he got up here and said that this project was going to be a $318 tax increase. That was August 18th, a year ago, when you approved the bond ordinance originally. How in a year, when prices have gone up, has the project gone down to $19? It makes literally no sense. You know, he keeps saying that the Board of Ed has been paying $1 million a year to St. Joe's and Shim's Academy on the leases for our pre-K and kindergarten. It's $578,645.64. The facts don't lie. I'll give them to you if you want them. But apparently the assemblyman doesn't have them. You know, the documentation doesn't even add up. You know, I do my homework, clearly. I sent an OPRA to UCIA about 3 weeks ago. They haven't been able to get back to me with meeting minutes or the monthly progress reports that the developer of this project is supposed to be submitting to them monthly or having bi-weekly meetings. They haven't been able to get back to me with the environmental studies that have been done on this project, which are required under government approvals on the redevelopment agreement. They haven't been able to get back to me with the full documentation on the memos and various documents that have gone behind the financing of these bonds and the preparation to finance these bonds. And they haven't been able to get back to me with the lease agreements that have been set up to be signed between the UCIA and the borough and the Board of Ed. So how can we move forward on a project when none of these documents can be provided to citizens that are asking for them? Do you have these documents? Because if you do, then the county or UCIA should be able to provide them to me. I've said time and time again that this project isn't about what Roselle citizens deserve. I would love to see it happen. But right now, in a time of economic downturn, not coming back, you know, if we start coming back, I'll come back here and I'll tell you, let's go for it. The citizens can afford it. But the numbers don't add up. And you know, the assemblyman actually stole my line that numbers don't lie and people do. But there's another line. It's, I can't believe what you say because I see what you do. It's a great line. So just think about that.
Thank you.
Denise Wilkerson, Roselle, New Jersey. Good evening, Chairman Bergen and the rest of the board members. Some of us Roselle residents came here before and we were pleading our case and asking for your help. The proceedings tonight are a little disheartening because, you know, it doesn't really leave the space we need to let our voices be heard. But let me say this, in the last couple of weeks, there have been private meetings with public officials that are not members of this board, staff members of the companies that stand to profit from this project, and others. But no one reached out and surveyed or even entertained the concerns of Roselle residents that have been voicing their frustration about this project from the beginning. Well, we may not have millions of dollars to contribute to campaigns, but our lives matter. And shame on the people who are bringing non-Roselle residents in here to speak for us. Please do not bring non-Roselle resident people here whose income supersedes the median income of Roselle residents and do not see the struggle that we face financially. People who have not heard the cries or wiped the tears of residents who are losing their homes. Don't dare use our babies to forward your agenda. As a Roselle resident who has a voice, as Maxine Waters says, I'm reclaiming my time, I'm also reclaiming my voice. As a Roselle resident, here's what we need. Everyone knows that education is the key for our children. Let's talk about the children. It is the only way that our children will be able to compete with the rest of society. And not many people who are pushing this project is talking about advancing the educational programs that we have. We're talking about buildings, we're talking about recreation and sports, that our kids don't need another basketball. They need to even the playing field. They need an education that will increase their chances in life. And babies, I want to make sure that you get it, okay? We also need and deserve to live like towns like Princeton. Look at that town. Everyone wished they could move to Princeton. Why? Because academically, they know their kids could flourish. And that academic greatness leads to an increase in property values, which allows that town to flourish. We deserve that. Our voices matter. We deserve that. And that's what the residents of Roselle wants. I don't understand why we're rushing tonight with little warning to the public about us taking on this decision tonight. But I know that there are a lot of concerns, and I want you to remember what happened the last time you rushed projects. I want you to remember the solar panel fiasco, and I want you to remember Sherman Oaks. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Clark, if you could please have the record note that Freeholder Hudak has joined us. Welcome, Freeholder.
Duly noted.
Next.
Greetings, Freeholder Board, Chairman. My name is Arcane Janswan from Roselle, New Jersey. Just wanted to share a few words in reference to this project. I was one of the kids that was born in Elizabeth and grew up in Roselle. Spent 21 years of my life growing up in Roselle. After my mom bought our first home when we lived in all buildings our whole life. I graduated from Rowan University in South Jersey and then did my master's at Seton Hall University. On top of that, I did a fellowship at Miami University of Ohio. And I was the kid that decided to come back to my town to make sure that I invested in my town. And now running a statewide organization focused on organizing faith leaders, I find myself with a mom who's retired, who no longer has the energy to work, and who's more dependent on me to make sure that I'm taking care of the basic necessities of not just her, but also a sister who suffers from depression and a brother who just recently lost his job. And so I've been a board member for 6 years, was a big advocate in my district. And as I said this before, nobody's anti this project. But as a board member, I can honestly say that I never had an opportunity to review the finances of this project. And as we go around town, the biggest issues that we will hearing from family members and senior citizens, and yes, retired labor leaders, and what they're saying is they can't afford another tax increase. And one of the problems that they have is that they feel that their voices didn't matter in this decision. They didn't hear about this project. And more importantly, they think this is a very reckless way of doing it. It wasn't our smartest way of funding this project. But leads me to my questions before I sit back down. It's, Chairman, I know that you alluded in some of your communication that there's never been any defaults of any towns in their loans. I just want to make sure in my research that I didn't see that. I thought I saw differently. Can you just make sure you verify that for me? Is the Borough of Roselle guaranteed to pay their loan? And if not, is there a system that you have as a county that balances out the towns to determine, sort of like a bank, the credit history and whether their towns are worthy of loans or not? And if that process is there, please, I would like to know it. And in worst case scenario, if Roselle does default in their loan, what will the county steps be following that? Does Roselle wash their hand, not have to worry about it because the county will take care of it? Or ultimately they will have to pay it? And if so, what would that look like, especially the impact to people who live in the town? And my last words I would say, again, I know this is a tough decision for you all.
Thank you. Your time is up.
I just hope that you make the best decision.
Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Joseph, and I'm from Elizabeth. I live right by Roselle, and I know many people from there. I grew up within the area, and I'd like to say that I think it would be a good thing for the community to go through with building the project. That money may be a problem. It's always a problem. But there's ways to work around it, and clearly there's people from the community, children, as well as adults, that support the issue. And I believe that it would be very beneficial for the township and for both people who reside there and children growing up in the area. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Yes.
Christopher Narayan of Elizabeth, New Jersey. This minor body complex needs to be done. We know the city of Roselle needs this. Right, we're talking about money, tax, whatever. We need to take a chance. We take chances all the time. We take chances with presidents, we take chances with freeholders. Even if we don't know you personally, we take a chance. And we need to take a chance, a step that it may be a bad outcome, it may not be. It's a 50-50 chance we're gonna take. These kids need it, everybody knows they need it. After school, you're driving by, the kids are outside, walking around doing nothing, completely nothing. Everybody wants to play basketball, they want to do music. We're going to encourage them to go into the right way. We might have the next superstar come out of Roselle. You never know. We might have somebody get big and invest back into it. So why don't we take a chance, get this done, and just hope for the best? That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who wishes to speak, please step up or we're going to close this portion.
Good evening, Chair Bergen, ladies and gentlemen of the Freeholder Board, Bruce, Patterson, Garwood. I guess you could say I'm here in a self-interest. I'm from Garwood. I'm not from Roselle. I wrote a letter, of course, to all the towns, and I also copied you on it. That it doesn't look too positive as to who's going to win this game here, the Roselle people or your politically connected crowd. So, but anyway, Dr. Chowdhury, he finished his speech saying silence is not an option, and we're looking at many people here that are not keeping silent, and most of it I see is based on financials. Yes, the kids need something. I can't argue that, and there should be a project. I'm not going to argue that either. But the people of Roselle actually had ideas. The library, just to add on the library. I think somebody was talking about Warren Anko possibly has that large project right there. Maybe it's just a school has to be built. But I mean, somehow this isn't being thought. This is just a runaway train here, and it's now $59 million from what I understand. And a $500 tax number a year versus somebody saying a $2,400 tax, that makes no sense at 24. I could see 500. I've been following government, and I could see $500 a year, and that is a stress on the taxpayers. Somebody said the 6th worst town in taxes versus income, and so this will push it probably to the first, and then they may default. And that's why I'm here for the self-interest, is because if Roselle defaults, of course it'll be pushed back onto the county because they guaranteed the bond, and of course, guess who pays for it? Everybody else, including Garwood. So I'm a little self-interested here, but at the same time, I've seen a lot of failures from this county, and I wrote a letter. The solar program failed. The UCUA refinance had failed with millions missing. The UCUA tonnage requirement, that failed. The Music Fest, that turned into a boondoggle, costing taxpayers money. The constant pay-to-play that goes to all these politically connected firms like Netta, who donate $77,000, and he pops up as
Mr. Patterson,
selected
please
architect.
keep to the point.
The point is, I suggest you really waylay this, sit back, rethink it, get with Roselle. Somebody suggested a referendum. Let's hear what the people say. You're not living in Roselle, so these people are, and let them determine it by referendum. That just makes sense. But I mean, I've been coming here for, 15 years, and I'll tell you, I don't see much sense here. I wrote that letter that we just got a snowball rolling down the hill, and the people and the 1,400 or 1,500 homes.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson. Time is up. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Patterson. You know the rules. Mr. Patterson, sit down, please.
Thank you.
Step up, please.
Sorry, I showed up late. Is this open for the entire county, or is this just a separate issue? Sorry.
No, anybody can speak on any issue on the agenda. If you have comments on an issue that's not on the agenda, we will get to that later on. Thank you. Anyone else who wishes to comment on any pending resolution on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the meeting, and I'm going to call for a motion to adopt resolutions 2017-719 through 2017-779.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Moved by Freeholder Mirabella, seconded by Freeholder Hudak. Clerk of the Board, would you kindly call the roll?
Freeholder Carter.
Yes.
Freeholder Estrada.
Yes and no on 2017-765.
Freeholder Hudak.
Aye as to all.
Freeholder Kowalski.
Yes.
Freeholder Mirabella.
Aye.
Freeholder Wright.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Granados. Chairman Bergen.
Yes.
Chairman, you have 8 votes in the affirmative with the exception of one resolution 2017-765, where you have 7 votes in the affirmative with 1 in the negative.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We now move to that portion of the meeting where the public may comment on any governmental issue that a member of the public feels may be of concern to residents of the county. Once again, please state your name and town of residence for the record, and please remember the 3-minute time limitation that we have this evening.
Why don't you give him?
Yeah, why don't we wait?
Minute.
Let's just wait a minute. Okay, step up, please. Please, your name, town of residence, and remember the 3-minute time.
My name is Nick Barbera. I live in Mountainside. I'm here today about the Open Space Trust Fund. In 2014, Mountainside, the state, and the county settled a Mount Laurel lawsuit. The result was the mandatory development on 3 lots. The first 2 lots were privately owned, each approximately 5 acres in size. They had wetlands, ponds, streams, and not suitable for development as per the DEP. But once this got linked to affordable housing, the DEP came in and reversed its own decisions and declassified the wetlands. Those properties have been clear-cut and now under construction. Now on to the third mandatory development. This is a 5-acre wooded lot publicly owned by the Township of Mountainside, and it shares approximately 100-yard property line with Echo Lake Park. This 100-yard property line is the perimeter of a pond in Echo Lake Park. Many trees are near this property line. They are white oak, tulip tree, American beech, winter creeper, northern red oak, black locust, red maple, and white ash. I know the names of these trees because the county labeled them with QR codes. What good is it if the Park Service labeled these trees on the trail if the ones behind them are going to be cut down? Mountainside never conducted an environmental study, so we don't know if there's wetlands on this property or not. I'm sure one will be done, but it should have been done 3 years ago when they rezoned it. Mountainside is now under contract with the highest bidder for this property, and the price is $3.1 million. At the Trailside Nature Center, just 1 mile up the road, we have exhibit after exhibit after exhibit promoting wetlands and open space. The freeholders promote bio blitzes. Young students come here in front of the county and give poetry about trees. Yet we can't protect the public trees we already have. Why are we trying to save the private ones? It would cost the taxpayers $0 to save this open space. All we have to do is just keep it as is. I come here today realistic that it's going to be next to impossible to save the 5 acres. But I hope you can keep an eye on this project and make the impacts to the adjacent Echo Lake Park as minimal as possible. The developer also wishes to expand the county trails along the pond into this development in order to make the property more accessible and draw more foot traffic to its 6 retail stores. Can you maybe step in and say not so fast and help protect our open space and county trails? Thank you.
Thank you. I can tell by the looks on the face of our staff that, I'm sorry. I can tell by the look of the face on our staff, this is not something that we're familiar with it. The county has no involvement in settling Mount Laurel cases.
Yeah.
Just to be clear. But we certainly are interested, and maybe you could write down some of the details for us, and we could take a look at it and see what we can find out.
Definitely. It's the combination of open space, battling Mount Laurel. I get it, but
Mr. Urban-Drake will speak to you and get some of the details, and then we can try and get back to you.
Thank you. I know the county didn't know about the development. The townspeople didn't really know about it either, too. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, step up.
Thank you. Good evening. Mayor Dancero. You said don't allow your emotions, so I'm going to try to keep them in check, because this is a very painful decision. One of the things I would like to have, which I've been struggling with for a long time, is to have an understanding and clarity of the position that the freeholders have taken based on what leading information that they have received that would make them feel that almost unanimously that this was the right thing to do. The other thing I'd like to say, and I hope I can get that answer, if not tonight, perhaps you can call me at 908-956-5557 or email me. I would really like to know what your thinking is. I didn't come here just with a handful of people. I've lived in Roselle since 1985. I pride myself in the fact that I've immersed myself in the community. I know so many people. Unfortunately, I wish I knew all the names to go along with the faces, because I live there, play there. My grandchildren have played in the parks, actually have been a neighbor there, and have lived and gone through a lot of situations that go on in Roselle every day, and I know what the heartbeat is. It's offensive when people come from other towns to try to tell us what we need in Roselle. I'm not saying that other people out of town can't empathize, don't get me wrong, but you have to be in it to understand it. And it's offensive when labor leaders come here to tell us they're going to give 150 jobs. Listen, do we need jobs? Do I want to be a part of, we are all the time with our Roselle First to try to get jobs for people instead of part-time jobs with no medical benefits? Absolutely. But to come here and talk about what we should take on the responsibility for, I've heard you say, Chairman, about all the millions of dollars we're going to save. Well, guess what? We've been paying, as per the then chair, our current Councilman at Large Atkins, who was on the Board of Education, who made the decision along with other people on that Board of Education to put our children exactly where they are in the current situation they're in. Now, as far as St. Joe's, it is beautiful. Come visit. When they talk about substandard, are you kidding me? Go visit. It is beautiful, KSA. I'm not saying that's where they should be. But that ended up happening, Shim's Academy, as a result of our children being in Elizabeth. And they had to move them from there to bring them in there. That was their decision. The very people that are now 7 years later saying how horrible we are to keep them there. And you know what? We do want to move them. But we have a crisis in Roselle. And the fact that our financials have been so incredibly distorted is offensive as well. I would be happy to sit down with any one of you or whoever, the group of you, and show you the myriad of so-called financial plans, which, by the way, doesn't include the cost.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sorry. Time is up. Mr. Esposito.
Anthony Esposito, Roselle, New Jersey. Needless to say, I'm very disappointed in the way the vote went today. Very disappointed. You showed me that you voted for special interests and the people that pay into your political campaigns. Clear. I've been a Democrat my entire life. My family's been in politics for many, many years in Hudson County. What I see happening here is the same politics as Hudson County. We all remember 2013, all those politicians in Hudson County went away in bracelets. When you have an interest in something, when NW Financial is the financial advisor for the Roselle Borough, the Roselle Board of Education, and I think even for the Union County Improvement Authority. You don't see a problem with that. When George Devaney is the broker of record for the Park Apartments in Roselle, I understand he made a brokerage fee for every apartment rented. There's planning to be 906 apartments created. This whole thing really smells bad. And I like to write letters. Thank you.
Thank you. Please step up.
Maria Hegner, Roselle. Today is a disgrace to Union County, I think. You know, we asked you as hardworking citizens that work 2 and 3 jobs to please put this aside and go through it with a fine-tooth comb. None of you, except one person, and I thank you, Mr. Estrada, even took that into consideration. And that's an insult to me and to my community. We are already reaping the high taxes for this project. Do you realize that we're banking $500,000 every year starting this year until 2019 for our first lease payment? What's going to happen after the next following year? Where's that money coming from? We're banking just to have the first lease payment. And you guys didn't hear and didn't listen. Those gentlemen that got arrested in 2013, they missed Union County. They missed it. But every dog has their day. And as an advocate for my community, I will make sure, and I will remember every single person that voted for this project. When you come knocking at people's doors during election time, I will make sure they will know your name and what you stand for. And it's not for Roselle or Union County.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay, Antoine, Roselle. My comments are just very clear. Mr. Estrada, I just want to say thank you, brother. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You didn't have to do this. Could have went home, could have went to bed, but you stood up for us tonight. The doors of Roselle are open to you. And anything you need from me, you have it for the rest of your life. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Because it took guts to do what you did today. And when we talk about people to champion our issues and to stand up at least one time, you showed me that. And you showed me that since 2011. And brother, I will never forget that. The doors of Roselle is forever open to you. And I speak for everybody here and everybody who's not here. And your name will be promoted for what you did tonight.
Good evening.
Thank you for your comments. Sir.
This is Kenneth Jones again. I haven't been living in Roselle too long, but I've been dealing in politics for many years. And I come from Brooklyn, New York, working with some of the most powerful politicians in South Brooklyn. And I can tell you, I'm not surprised by the decisions you guys make. I don't know why you made the decisions that you did, because only God knows your heart. But I tell every politician that I ever work with, and I'm gonna give you a little scenario. I only got 3 minutes. I remember one time when a principal came to me from PS 188 in Brooklyn, New York, and he asked me, he said, Ken, I tried to get a gym built for my school for 10 years with the city councilman. I ain't gonna say his name now, but they all know me in New York. And he says, Ken, I believe you can help me get this done. I said, I don't know if I can do that. It's unbelievable that a school don't have a gym. So they didn't have a gym, so I went to a couple of my friends, you know, and politicians, some senators, you know, and they said, well, where are we gonna get the money from? I'm a firm believer in God, and God watches everything. He don't miss nothing. He said, whatever you do to the least of them, you do unto me. So I said, I took 700 students and their parents. We wrote letters to everybody, Mayor Bloomberg, everybody. And we went to the principal's office with all the city councilmen, the senator, assembly people, and I joined hands. They said, where are we going to get this $7 million from? I said, my God can do anything. We joined hands and we prayed. It took 2 years, but God provided. And he's going to provide for the people of Roselle. Where man fail, God is going to pick up and he's going to do what he needs to do for the people in Roselle. Thank you, God bless you, and I will be praying for you.
Thank you for your comments.
Brandon Bernier, Roselle. I have one simple request. First off, thank you, Freeholder Estrada, for being brave. I have one simple request, and that's for someone who voted yes on this to make a motion to reconsider, because I, for one, can't see how a single person on this board does not have a conflict of interest on this project, on the people that stand to make money on this project. We see who cared in this audience. You know, as the people who are making money on this project high-fived and shook hands on the way out, you know, the people that have loaded your campaigns. AST Roselle, the developer on this project that's going to make 10% off the top of that $59 million. Robert DeAnton, $5,000 to Carter Kowalski and Granados, 2016. Jerry Green has gotten tons of money from AST Development. Netta Architects, Carter Kowalski Granados, Mirabella Jallo Bergen, Estrada Wright Hudak. You know, there's not one of you up there that hasn't received money from a company who's being paid on this project. You know, it goes all the way down. Cumming Construction, they're a new one in the game in Union County. But, well, 2015, Jamel Holly, $2,600. 2015, $7,800 to Mirabella Jallo and Bergen. Carter Kowalski and Granados, another $7,800. NW Financial donated over $70,000 into Union County in the last few years. Dennis Enright, the man himself, not the company, has donated well over $500,000 in my lifetime in political campaign contributions. The household income in Roselle is right now $43,000. It would take those people well over 10 years to even have $500,000 to start pumping into campaigns. You know, we get to Dakotas. The lawyers making tons of money. They pumped well over $250,000 into this county to every campaign that the Freeholders have run. You know, and then we get to George Devaney, you know, former county manager here. He's donated all across the board. Where do we stop the conflicts of interest? People putting money in your campaigns and then you putting money by greenlighting projects that they're going to make tons of money on. You know, it's ironic that Menendez is on trial right now for corruption. You know, how many projects have we voted on for people that we go to Met Spring training with? You know, we have pictures right there on the internet, Facebook. Freeholder Mirabella with Devaney. He's going to make tons of money on this project. He's made tons of money on other projects. You know, where do the conflicts, the unethical behavior, turn into illegal? I'm not saying anything's illegal, but at some point we have to realize that the fact that everyone up here has gotten money from everyone on this project, we need to make better decisions. So I'm asking you to make a motion to reconsider, and every single one of you should abstain.
Thank you for your remarks. Sir, step up.
Good evening. My name is Michael Zachariah. I'm a resident of Union, New Jersey, 1064 Loudon Avenue. My comment's not about the Roselle situation going on. It is about a proposed playground development on Green Lane in Union, New Jersey. A lot of our community is not here today. They're currently at the town with a big MERC meeting going on with the planning board. So I'm representing them. As the community representative, we're just very confused about a project such as this. Just to give a very, very brief background, this playground that's being proposed by the county was part of a combined park that had trails, a dog park, and of course the county playground section. It was justified by the township, not the county, as having connectivity to locations, alignment, and they're calling it adherence to various master plans. We've had at least 2 community meetings that we've had with this. A lot of these assertions and support, a lot of the support that was provided at the meetings were proved to be false. So what we also
Hold on. The batteries may have run out, so. Anyone who wants to speak, we're gonna have to stick to one side of the room. Thank you.
Just wanted to also say we had a petition around the neighborhood, all the residences. We had 121 people responded, 115, 95% were against all development of that area, and 5% really didn't care. As a result, the project was stopped as far as the township was concerned, but the county's still going forward as what we understand with their portion. The township had no support for theirs, so again, we're asking what the county support is for this. We did have a change of use hearing on August 29th. It was moderated by Mr. Campbell. We asked these questions, and the basic answer we got is we had to come before the freeholders for this. Other questions we had as a community was the obscure location and a lot of security concerns that we did have. The location, if anyone's been there, the park, the playground is surrounded basically by a commercial neighborhood. Directly next door, you have Direct Doors, Apple Day Fruits, Peerless Beverage, Duran Inc., Extra Space Storage, Elizabethtown Gas. And right across the street from the project itself is a natural gas filling gas station. Security issues was loitering, littering, drinking, drugging, fire setup. In conclusion, I just wanted to ask before my time runs out, is there anything the freeholders can tell us about the support for a project such as this and give us any insight? Because as of right now, we're just blind. And I wonder if anyone can respond.
I will tell you that no decision has been made whether the project is going forward or not. Is still in the consideration stage, and certainly we'd be more than happy to hear your concerns. Either we can meet with you if you want to submit them in writing to our clerk. He'll distribute them to the board, but no decision has been made at this point as to whether the project's going forward or not.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Good evening, Sylvia Turnage, Roselle, New Jersey. As I reach into my bag of superlatives, the only thing that I could come up with for your decision tonight was egregious. Reckless, maybe. Freeholder Estrada, I really want to thank you also from the bottom of my heart. You've always been a stand-up kind of guy, and you've really shown this. Even if the rest of the board shuns you and they don't want to support you, your next go-around, you can join Freeholder Jallo, and Roselle will support you. You heard everything. You know that there's so many deficiencies with this whole plan. I raised questions about backdoor decisions that were made. I got no responses. Okay, trust and believe. Tonight isn't the end because you voted to move forward. That's fine. We're still in Roselle. We're still paying taxes. We are going to move forward. We are going to move forward in the likes that you have never seen. You can count on it. And one thing that you can trust and believe is I do my homework. I do my homework on everything. And if I have to shout it from the rooftops, you know, I see some of you sitting up here smug, you know, bloated with self-importance. You're fine in Plainfield. Everything is going right along. But in Roselle, we're falling apart. We came to you and begged for help. Not one, not two, not 3 times. We've sent emails. There has been phone calls. There have been private meetings. Everything. You know, we got nothing. We got nothing from you guys. And then to add insult to injury, we have people come up here. You know, everybody deserves a second chance. We got an ex-convict that probably got a job on DPW in Roselle to come up here and speak. We got a labor person that brought his whole contracting crew with him to come up here and speak for our town for jobs. We have people in Roselle that don't have jobs, that are losing their homes. You think they're going to be the ones building the mind and body complex? You know, I should be so lucky. I should be in the position of some of these people, George Devaney, an assemblyman that rammed this this 900 and something unit project down our throat, and who gets the first apartment in it? You know, who lives there now? Whose residence is that? Probably rent-free, allegedly. Let me say allegedly, okay? Come on, guys. We know what happens. We know what goes on. And trust me, because we know you have no concern from Roselle, you're going to find out what Roselle is made of. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Denise Wilkerson, Roselle. Freeholder Estrada, we just want to let you know that we are touched by your courage tonight. And the Bible talks about a courageous man. And we know that blessings will come upon you because of your courage to stand up for those that may not have the power and the influence to stand up for themselves. And we will continue to support you for standing up for us. For the rest of the board, you know, we really have to talk about what happened here tonight. You voted for a project that has been so poorly managed with no accountability, outdated documents, and no documents at all in some cases. You voted for a project where the finances are all funny numbers, but I bet you that will be revealed as well. You voted to give our kids the status quo for minority children, a basketball and a pipe dream. You could have given our kids a real opportunity by forcing the borough to go back to the table and do what is right for them. You know this project has minimal focus on education and reading because even the library portion of the project was reduced to a railroad cart. And against your own best interests, you sided with people who are disconnected from the people. Those officials you saw here tonight aren't even communicating with the residents who are suffering in this town. And those residents will be voting in this town. So be careful who you stand by, because they cannot benefit you from this point forward. Trust me on that. You know, I wished and we begged, and I still respect you, because there's nothing like being a servant for the public. But I wish you would have listened to us. I wish you would have at least asked questions. We would have been happy to meet with you, to give you data, to provide anything you needed so that you had a well-rounded decision. But you didn't, unfortunately. And many people say that the revolution will not be televised. But in this case, it will be televised, because what happened here today must be known. And from this point forward, we will act based on what happened here today. We understand who has our best interests at heart. We know who have our children at heart. It is time that we put Roselle forward. And let me tell you, the residents are ready to do just that.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Bergen, ladies and gentlemen of the Freeholder Board, Bruce Patterson, Garwood. That's tough to follow. I mean, you know, what you said was powerful, but you know, hopefully, I think the trick here is you haven't signed it yet. So there's still a possibility, as long as you don't sign whatever paperwork needs to be signed. So again, listening to these people, there is that one last out. And it's don't sign the paperwork and reconsider. People are asking you to reconsider. A couple items. I mean, people were talking about there's revenues coming in, but you know, also people are talking about, don't forget there's maintenance and overhead and operational costs. You know, that could offset the revenue. So I mean, that doesn't mean anything that revenue's coming in. You know, these people are hurting. I mean, we've heard the numbers that they're saying. You know, so many houses are foreclosed. So many are abandoned. So many are underwater in their mortgages. You know, and you're going to go through this. And, you know, what is the tax impact? I don't know. You know, I know it's not $24. It's probably more like $500 because I've been in construction. I've been following government. It's a big number. And for these people that are paying 20 to 25% of their income towards property taxes, you know, more are going to be hurt as the years go by, there's going to be more and more foreclosures, more and more abandonments. I mean, what are you going to say to these people that, you know, that you're doing it? You know, there's a possibility to lessen it. I mean, if you make it 300, maybe that's palatable. Maybe, you know, shrink down the project. There were suggestions made. If you do go forward with whatever construction, let me make a suggestion. I think Ms. Wilkerson was talking about jobs in Roselle. Do like Newark. I think Newark has something on their books that says you have to hire something like 10 to 20% internally in the town where the construction's happening. So, I mean, 25%. There you go. A 25% threshold of hiring Roselle residents for the construction. That would help out a lot of people there. So, but, you know, bottom line is, you know, they also have to face municipal increases, Board of Ed increases, and even the wonderful county
Please,
increase.
no comments from the audience, please.
You know, and the county increases are nonstop, which is amazing. I mean, just the boondoggle, just sucking up our money. And this is why they're in straits. And other towns are in straits. And Summit comes down here and complains about the taxes. When you talk about the wealthiest town complaining, I've mentioned this before. When they're complaining, you know something's wrong here at the county. I mean, I've listened to Mr. Vernier and Ms. Turnage, and I'll tell you, they're connecting the dots.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson. Your time is up. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak tonight?
Thank you, Freeholder Estrada.
Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the meeting. We'll move on to freeholder reports and comments. Freeholder Kowalski.
Thank you, everyone who came tonight to participate. I would like to let people know about freeholder support for our Union County Library Grant Program. This year, we awarded a total of $146,968 in funds to 20 local public libraries to help improve children's programs. So the Freeholder Board is pleased to help with supporting technical programs for children, and I'd like to thank my colleagues for that support. That's all from me, Chairman.
Thank you. Freeholder Carter.
No comment.
Thank you. Freeholder Estrada.
Yes, thank you very much. Number one is I want to thank everyone for coming in today. I think, if anything, is an experience that we go through as board members. But I think we need to also talk about understanding the relationship that exists between the County of Union and the City of Roselle. It is not up to the Freeholder Board to decide whether you're going to build A, B, or C in your community. It's up to you folks who are here before us. All we do in this particular case, individuals or the elected bodies of Roselle came to us looking for a guarantee for a project that, as far as I'm concerned, could potentially have a great need in the community. And I have never lost the sight of what things may be needed out there. Unfortunately, the information that I have received through this process has not been one that I would consider that all the dots are dotted and the T's are crossed. And that is something of concern in my part. To be very honest, in due diligence, I am not happy in terms of the overall, how the project is presented. I think that possibly it should have gone a different manner, and one of the main reasons why I decided to vote against it. I have doubts since the very beginning. I have voted or abstained in a couple of other votes that we've had in this area. But I think Roselle needs to come together, and I think this is a learning experience for everyone. Yes, I've heard numbers here today. I've heard number on this side. I have heard number weeks ago, but I have yet to see it in a piece of paper and telling me that this is how this will be funded by my friends who live in Roselle, who unfortunately are on the $45,000 a year income, who will be being challenged in the amount of money or of taxes they will be paying. Because I can truly tell you that taxes do not go down. And I've been here for 18 years, and Every year, we try the hardest to bring it down to a lower level. No, let's not go above 2, but all of a sudden it's 2.8, 2.6. It's been a difficult time because the reality is that life is more expensive every day. If you notice the gas, and just the other day after what happened in Texas, I am pumping gas at the Sam's Club, and right across the street we have the refinery in Linden that we all have deal with every day of our lives, and I'm paying 27 cents more per gallon of gas. And I said, wait a minute, Harvey didn't come to Elizabeth or Linden, so why am I paying those new rates? But well, that's life, and the gas just keeps creeping. Now, I would rather go over there to see my buddy over in Linden and say, will you fill up my tank, please? Maybe it should be lower, but it isn't. And that's the realities that we as citizens face on a daily basis. It is important to understand that our youth needs direction. I don't disagree with the issue that this is not about basketball. This is about giving our young people the opportunity to do better for themselves and their families in the future. And as Arcane spoke about his family and his experience, I know very clearly that that is a very common situation that we find across many of the cities in Union County. There's no easy answers. I think it's very difficult. In terms of following the law, I don't think anybody sitting at this table is violating any laws. Okay, whether we like it or not, until elections are actually funded through public funds, nothing's going to change. This is the reality. I guarantee you that every single person who donated to whatever committee, including those in Roselle, have met the threshold of the law in New Jersey. So by experience, I can tell you that just doesn't shine. It really doesn't. And people have the right to make donations one way or the other. In the same token, I think we have to be responsible of how we act on issues that come before us. And I think to a certain degree, every single individual is here thinks on their own, and they make their own determination whether they feel the project should work or not. I'm one of those who may, in this particular case, feel that I haven't gotten everything that I need to make a well-informed decision, one that I would be happy with. So all I can truly say is that time will tell, and all of you folks need to work very hard to ensure that if you feel this way, that it's time to make some changes. And it's up to you. That's all I can truly say. Thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder. Freeholder Mirabella.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a few comments from me. I was very happy to visit our vocational schools, and I want to give a report. Freeholder Estrada and I had a chance to attend the new Law and Justice Mini Academy at the Votech UC Tech building in Scotch Plains earlier this week. This is a 4-year program designed to prepare students for careers in public service, in law, and in criminal justice as proactive citizens. Law and justice is a career path that is tremendously fulfilling for those who endeavor in this field. This new mini academy has an immersive approach to learning and critical thinking that will help ensure that our students get off to a good start. It joins 5 other innovative academies within the vocational schools at UC Tech that lead to promising careers in clinical care, design, sustainable sciences, teacher education, exercise physiology, and related sciences. I'm proud to be among this board who supports this school district and this new academy at the UC Tech building. I want to congratulate our superintendent of our vocational schools, Pete Capitis, and the principal, Jeff Lerner, for their creative and forward thinking. I have a couple of comments on the Roselle project. It was said that I voted for the project. Well, I voted, in my mind, to help Roselle. This is a Roselle issue. This was voted and supported by the Township Borough Council. I deemed it important, as the Roselle Council did, elected by the people of Roselle. And I looked at it as a way to help save money over the course of the term of the borrowing. So that's where I came from. You know, I appreciate the mayor's comments, was here, and she's conflicted some way with the need and the project. I understand she was supportive in the past, and you know, maybe has a different attitude now, or a different project, or a different, you know, way of thinking. But this is something that, you know, Roselle feels is important, and if I, as a freeholder, have an opportunity to help a municipality within Union County save money over the course of a loan project, then I'm going to try to do that, and that's what I did tonight. So I wanted to help explain where I was coming from a standpoint of how I supported this particular resolution, and I look forward to a great project in Roselle. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Freeholder. Freeholder Huda.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to address my comments also to the individuals from Roselle, the residents who came out tonight, those who are interested in the project. You know, I shared much of the analysis of the project that Freeholder Estrada had laid out. And while I share many of the sentiments, we came to different conclusions. And I want to explain how I came to my conclusion. I live in Linden. And Linden, and I heard, and one of the things I've disagreed with, and I also wanted to throw onto the record, a couple times people have said to me over the course of Roselle's project, gosh, you know, the county has built all these wonderful buildings in Linden through the Improvement Authority. The Improvement Authority building should be building these buildings elsewhere. You know, Linden did a number of projects in the last decade. They renovated all the firehouses, built a park, did a library as well. And, you know, the caution I you know, would bring to anyone's attention when they brought that to my attention in Roselle, I said, one, that project and those projects, and that also includes an athletic field for our school board, they were not completed with a county guarantee. Now that also maybe at the time, the CFO in Linden, Joe Saligo, was a very astute fiscal mind. The city had a tremendous amount of reserves, and the city had a AAA rating. So maybe that didn't apply at that particular time. But there was a huge building effort within the city of Linden. Now, there was a consequence to that building effort, and that was a significant tax increase over a course of years. And many of those, well-earned reserves were reduced over time. And I think some of the concerns that I've heard from the people of Roselle, when we build large buildings, with all the bells and whistles, you know, how do we furnish them? How do we staff them? And those are legitimate concerns you as a community need to ask. And I lived in a community where, you know, I think at times, I don't think the council, and I wasn't on the council at the time, I understood where they were going with it. Those were the decisions that they made, and I think there were consequences financially. I would say there were consequences at times in elections over those decisions. Ultimately, I think those were the right decisions. I think the town has a good library now. I think we needed to upgrade the public safety buildings. We did have a facility done for the Board of Education, which needed to be done. The city actually guaranteed that Board of Education facility. And so, you know, at the end of the day, I see the numbers, and I've struggled with that because, you know, I don't live in Roselle. I am a neighbor, a very close neighbor, and so I have an interest in your community in terms of neighbor, but I don't live there. I'm not going to pay your tax bill. So I think you should be vigilant to the governing bodies, and that was a compelling factor for me. And, you know, Mayor, I've told you this before. At the end of the day, still the majorities of your boards of education, the majority of your council support this project, and that is a compelling factor. And I hear you, and I know, and I tend to be on the more conservative side with these projects. So all those things being said, you know, there's consequences for spending the money. It's a lot of money, and it's certainly going to impact the community one way or the other. Positive in terms of the construction, negative possibly in terms of the tax and the financial implications. On this particular resolution, quite frankly, as the resolution was presented in August, I probably would not have supported it. I think I give credit to County Council and our bond council for making sure that the resolution was honed, because as county freeholders, we are stewards of the county treasury and the county tax base. And I think a good job was done in terms of refining that resolution and making sure that the guarantees were in place so that we could get to the ultimate goal of why, as I said, pointed out those other things, and I share, what Freeholder Estrada was feeling on it. At the end of the day, this will save you money because you have the ability of these boards, the board and the borough council, to do this project. So we can allow you to go forward with the project, pay more money, or we can allow the county guarantee, which I'm confident based on the resolution we passed tonight for the community center portion of the project, our guarantee is very unlikely to be called, and you will save money as a result of that. So that is where I'm coming from tonight. I completely understand the residents' concerns over the project, and I would say you should be vigilant in terms of the spending, the Improvement Authority's spending of your funds. I will tell you in Linden we were, and that's an important thing for you to do. But I stand by my vote today. I think it was a good vote. I think the project is moving forward, and I think you are right to be concerned about it, but I think you should also be moving constructively with your Board of Education and your Borough Council to air those concerns and make sure that the project is a better project, because the more you raise those concerns, the better the project will be. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Freeholder. Freeholder, right.
Yes, I would like to recognize the Union County Clerk, Joanne Rajapi, for providing a new service to voters in this election cycle. As you may know, until this year, candidates for governor in New Jersey were entitled to include a position statement of up to 500 words on the sample ballots mailed to each voter. Now, a new law only requires the statements to be posted online. This creates a hardship for voters who do not have access to the internet. In order to ensure that all voters can get this important information, Mr. Rajapi will mail printed copies of the candidate statements to any Union County voter who requests them for any reason. There is no charge for postage. Simply call the County Clerk's Elections Division at 908-527-4996, or you can send a request by mail or email to the Union County Votes at ucnj.org, and you can get the information. As I stated, there's no charge for postage.
Thank you, Freeholder. I'm not going to repeat the statements by Freeholders Mirabella and Hudak, but I think they fairly set forth many of the important issues concerning this vote. But I do want to reiterate, this is a local project approved by the Borough Council and the Board of Ed, and the county merely was asked to help those projects move forward by saving money by giving our guarantee. So that's, as Freeholder Mirabella said, that's what we were voting on tonight, and I do believe we did the correct thing in that regard. I also have to address, as was already addressed, the implication that there is any impropriety in the actions of this board in awarding contracts to people who have possibly donated to our campaigns. That is just far from the truth. This body and those that we hire to do work for this county strictly and always comply with the laws of the state of New Jersey concerning campaign financing and public contracts and hiring. So any implication otherwise is just absolutely wrong. I want to just briefly comment on something that occurred yesterday, which was the opening of our new Family Justice Center, which is located in our new Union County Courthouse, Cherry Street Annex, just across the tracks, if you will, from where we are. This Family Justice Center is a result of the work of many working together, including our assignment judge, Karen Cassidy, the YWCA of Union County, which is located here in Elizabeth, our State Attorney General, Christopher Perino, who took time from his busy schedule to join us yesterday, and our now former prosecutor, Grace Park. Grace Park and a number of people in her office were the driving force behind this Family Justice Center. And she stayed on the job until yesterday so that she could be there as the prosecutor at the time of the opening of the center. She has, as of today, I guess, started a new job in the private sector. In my remarks yesterday, I was glad I had the opportunity to personally thank Prosecutor Park for her many years of meritorious service to the residents of Union County. And she has done a good job in the 4+ years that she was here. I also had an opportunity yesterday to acknowledge Freeholder Jallo, who was one of the early champions of the idea of the Family Justice Center when it first was discussed a number of years back, and continued to be a supporter of it, along with this entire Freeholder board. I like to point out that the county and this Freeholder board have an established record of providing critical assistance to victims of domestic violence through programs such as our Rape Crisis Center, as well as to the children in our county through the Prosecutor's Child Advocacy Center. The new Family Justice Center will be a, if you will, one-stop shop right in the courthouse for victims of domestic violence. And it won't necessarily provide them with any services that weren't already available, but it will all be available to them right in one place, right in the courthouse, without having to travel around. So on behalf of this Freeholder board, I believe we can be very proud of this innovative one-stop center to provide comprehensive response and a place for access for services for victims of domestic violence here in our county. And it is an issue that I've been concerned about for many, many years, so I'm very proud of that. That being said, I will call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr.
Is there
Chairman.
a second? All in favor?
Aye. Yes.
Thank you. We are adjourned.